Today, I'm pleased to have Ben McCarthy from Premier Events. How did you go from obviously being at school to starting Premier Events?
2002, I was just going to buy a disco.
Yeah.
And then over the years, we started to do some weddings and some more higher profile events. 2017, 2018, we were mainly, probably 80% weddings and private parties. 2019, we kind of decided we don't want to do weddings anymore. We're going to concentrate solely on corporate stuff.
This has all come out of one idea, and I wanted to go back to just that idea. Like, what gave you the confidence to just go, let's spend money on something that I don't know is going to bring any money in? Welcome back to the We Built This Business podcast. Today, I'm pleased to have Ben McCarthy from Premier Events. Ben.
Hello.
Nice to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks. It's going to be good.
So we're actually filming from your podcast studios at Premier headquarters.
The first booking.
So, I mean, it's pretty fantastic. We've got interactive lights, we've got changing cameras, we've got everything going on. Let's start by telling me, why did you invest in a podcast studio?
I wanted to do podcast studios for a while, and when we built our main studio, the plan was that we could use that for podcasts, but it's quite a faff to set up. What we found is people wanted to book for 1 or 2 hours, and it's a lot of effort to set up the big studio with put 3 cameras in, set up all the mics, put all the furniture in. So we've decided to keep that studio, the main studio, and have that as a full day hire only, and then build this, which you can then book by the hour. So you don't have to, it's set up, you come in, you press record, off you go.
Yeah, and it's a great setup. So Premier Events, let's start from the top. If you could tell me today, what size is Premier Events? How many people do you employ? What do you actually do as a company?
Okay, so I guess the sell is that we are a fully integrated full service event agency. So what we've found is a load of companies will say we're a full service event agency because they manage all of the areas of an event. What makes us different is that we own all of the kit and all of the people to do all of those things. So all of those core items of an event, so the AV, the content, the invites, the delegate management, for example, we do all of that in-house using our people and kit. There's 40 of us, and we'll turn over about £7 million this year.
Wow. I mean, that is a big number. And especially in the event space. So what type of events are you organising?
Mainly, it's internal comms conferences. So company updates for big brands. We're doing some product launches, conferences, product launches. We did a festival the other week. We're still doing some virtual events. We've got people coming in for the studio bookings. We're making videos for clients. We've got a video production kind of department upstairs. We're making people's PowerPoint slides. It's really a really varied. Yeah, no days are the same at Premier.
I was looking on your website, and yeah, the range of options that you have on there, like you say, is really a full service that you offer.
Yes.
And I'm really interested to know how you've built it up from the start. So let's go back to the beginning, Ben. When you were at school, how did you go from obviously being at school to starting Premier Events?
So at school, DJ'd in my bedroom on some terrible Technics. Well, they weren't even Technics, they were like Sherwood turntables. If you know about turntables, a belt drive, so the terrible ones. DJ'd at school, then went to university. And when you go to university, they say, oh, do you want an overdraft as part of your student account? And it was £1,000. And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I'd never had £1,000. And I decided in like week 3 of uni that I was just going to buy a disco with that £1,000. So I went to a disco shop in Nottingham and I've rocked up like an idiot basically and said, hello, I'd like to buy a disco. I've got £1,000. And they were like, okay, you can have 2 speakers, a twin CD player, rubbish mixer, 2 tripods and 2 lights.
And that was all the 1,000?
That was the £1,000 gone.
Love that. Yeah.
And then I had to get a job at the Hilton to buy some CDs so I could then have some music to play and start at a little disco company doing primary school discos.
What year would have that been?
2002.
Okay. So you've got your disco set.
Yep.
You've got your CDs.
Yep.
And you're basically running kids parties
Yeah,
primarily?
I was basically not good enough DJ to DJ anywhere cool or good, but I could play Wigfield, the Macarena Saturday night,
Yeah.
and do kids parties. So I initially started doing children's parties, then started getting some jobs in like really ropey pubs.
Oh, right.
So like Friday, Saturday nights would be at, I don't know, the Three Cranes or whatever.
Is this in Nottingham?
Just Leicester, Nottingham, anywhere where they'd pay 80, 90 pound a night for a DJ.
Yeah.
That was my limit. I was not good enough to go at a higher level than that. I was still learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And then over the years, we started to do some weddings and some more higher profile events. And the discos kind of got bigger. That whole thing of spend £1,000, do 10 discos at £100 each.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work out because I ended up buying more kit, bigger speakers, better lights, a van. So I kept constantly investing.
But you got that money from the business, as in like it was generating that money to buy it. You didn't go out and get a loan or anything like that.
No, it's all been from that initial £1,000.
So that was in year one of university.
Yeah.
And did you carry on with the course as well? Or
So I did the course. It was a business studies course. So part of my thinking was you're going to learn about business by running a business.
Yeah.
So hence the disco company. And by the end of uni, after the 3 years, I knew that I probably wasn't going to get a job. Like my priority really was discos. There was a one exam where I think it was like a 2 till 5 exam, but I had to leave at 3:30 because I had a disco in Northampton to do for a corporate event. So I literally rushed through the exam. An hour and a half in, I was like, I've got to go now. So I just left the exam. I got a 2-2 as part of my degree. So not epic, but I didn't really care because I knew that I was going to go and do discos.
Yeah. I mean, I got a 2-2 at uni as well, and I also did business studies.
It's a
solid degree.
Solid degree.
And I also had the same thought process as well, that when we were going through the exams, I was like, I know I'm going to run my own business. So I've kind of, my time here is almost done.
Yeah.
I don't need to put the work in, which is a tough one to kind of come to terms with. But
especially when you're spending, I don't know what it was it $4,000 a year or whatever
it was.
The money was.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12 grand's debt, and I'm not even fussed about the outcome.
Yeah. But you hope that obviously through that period, you've learned enough that you can help you when you do go into that business.
Yeah.
So you leave university, you've done this corporate event, you finished your exams. What then makes you go, I'm just going to make this bigger?
So I knew I wanted to be a full-time DJ. I didn't have quite enough money, enough bookings coming in to be full-time. So I ended up for about a year working 3 nights a week at the Premier Inn as a night porter.
Okay.
So I'd do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night portering, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday discos. But the discos were all still rubbishy kind of money. So I wasn't on like...
Were they more than £80?
Yeah, more than £80.
Yeah.
But I'd do a nightclub on a Thursday. And I might do a pub on a Friday, a wedding on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was getting up there, but I needed another job, just a bit of a stability, because discos was always peaks and troughs throughout the year.
Yeah.
When it was quiet and busy.
So when did it change from doing discos to starting looking at other revenue streams?
So it would have been, let's do some maths. 2000 when did John start? John joined.
Was John your first employee?
John was the first employee. So maybe 2007.
Okay.
So yeah, about 2007, 2008, John joined, who was our first ever employee.
Yeah.
Based out of my house. But by that point, we were doing discos, and I had started buying Dancefloors as well, thinking that would be a future. I learned that you could hire a dance floor out and earn more than DJing without the annoyance of having to play ABBA any more times.
So it was ABBA was the reason.
Oh, kill me now.
So John, is John still with us?
Yep.
He's working today. And what's his, once he's come into the business, what does he do for you?
So the way to think of it in the early days is I had all the ideas of what I wanted to do, but didn't know how to do any of them.
Okay.
John was more technical in background, So I could say to John, I think we should have some outdoor uplighters, for example, because that would be a nice thing. But he would know what outdoor uplighters to buy, and that we couldn't use 13 amp cable. We needed to use 16 amp cable. He knew all that stuff. I just knew I wanted to have some outdoor uplighters, for example.
Yeah.
And so he would then go and make that all happen. And it was the brains behind making it all work, basically.
So you were the vision, and essentially he was coming in and providing the actual technical
Knowledge.
and the knowledge as how to do it.
Yeah, because I had no idea.
Yeah. And that's a sign of a great entrepreneur, isn't it? You know what your skills are and what your skills aren't. And if you could bring people in to look after the bit that you don't know how to do, that enables you to massively grow, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that still applies now. There's so many things that we do now that I don't know how to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I know how to turn this studio on, but there's a rack next door with all of the bits and bobs to make it all work. I probably shouldn't be allowed to touch that.
Yeah, I have things at the office that is very similar to that as well. Just don't touch that.
There's a room here that I'm not allowed in.
This is literally say no Ben.
It's got code to get in. They haven't told me the code. The server room, I'm just not allowed. Because they know I'd be like, oh, let's just try this if there's ever a problem. And it's not the way to do it.
Yeah, it's hard, and when you start getting involved too much, you go like, yeah, this isn't my area.
Yeah, exactly.
So, dance floors. So you hired out a few dance floors, and I'm assuming you found that model worked nicer than the discos.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing dance floors more.
Yeah,
and it was more scalable. Right. Because finding good DJs was hard. So I had probably 3 or 4 other DJs that were working under the Ben's Mobile Discos brand.
Okay, so it wasn't called Premier Events at this stage.
It was Ben's Mobile Discos, and there were 3 or 4 DJs. And then I had the dance floors, so I changed it into what I thought was an amazing company name. It was Premier DJ and Event Services UK Limited. Catch it.
Rolls off the tongue.
It's so rubbish.
So that was the birth of essentially when Premier is today, essentially.
Yes.
And you just narrowed that down to Premier Events.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There was another weird brand in between Discos and Premier DJ where we bought some uplighting. We were one of the first people to get into like uplighting for weddings and stuff.
Okay.
And buying these park hands from Tommen. And I set up a company called Light My Venue.
Okay.
Which was just a nice little niche company that just did uplighting.
Right, okay.
So with dance floors and uplighting and some DJs, that was what we did for a good number of years.
Right, yeah. And did you bring other people into the business at this point?
Yes, it was at this point when John came on board.
Yeah.
And then we were operating out of my house. So I had a 3-bed house with a single garage. I had a bedroom. I had an office.
Yeah.
John had an office. We were cleaning dance floors on the kitchen table and the single garage was full.
Yeah.
And we thought we got to get out of here. So we made the jump and moved into like 1,000 square foot terrible warehouse. Really ropey, but good to do.
Yeah. So what year was this?
That'd have been 2008, maybe 2008, 2009.
Yeah. It shows obviously with every business journey, you're already 6-7 years in at that stage.
Yes.
And it's getting that first office, isn't it? Or getting that first warehouse. It takes a lot longer than most people realize.
Yeah, and we worked really hard to make that office nice. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And John was invaluable because I didn't know what to do. He was like, right, we're going to build a stud wall down here. We're going to put some air conditioning in. We're going to put like trunking down with data network and stuff. Like, okay, cool. Like, you tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Like, plumbing in toilets. He did everything.
Wow. He's a good guy to have.
Yeah, a really good guy to have around.
So once you got your first warehouse, is that when you're able to start looking at bringing a few more people in and additional revenue streams coming?
We ended up, we were there for maybe 2 or 3 years, and by the time we left, we were a team of maybe 5 people full time.
Okay.
So there was myself, John, Michael, who's still here now. He came in as a sales kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Like a wedding and event coordinator.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of warehouse people.
Okay. Yeah.
Cleaning all the dance floors because we got bored of that.
Yeah. Realize you need to outsource it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's only so much floor buffering you can do before you think, oh no.
So what stage did you start thinking this is going to work? As in so you've got your 1,000 square foot office, you've got 5 or 6 employees. Obviously today you're 40. how did you get to kind of going, yep, this is going to work, I'm going to start scaling up?
So what was interesting is that I didn't know this at the time, but that was probably peak wealth for a while, like peak profit, peak income for me. That was a really nice sweet spot as a business.
Yeah.
What we then found is we'd filled that unit up, 1,000 square foot. We needed to move. If we were going to grow, we needed to move. And we found this unit we're in now, we're actually in 3 units. We found the first one, which was 7,000 square foot. It was a massive jump. And we thought, oh, can we afford it? Probably not, but we'll just go for it and try and make it work.
Yeah.
Signed a 5-year lease, but with a 6-month break, so that if it didn't work, we could get out of it. Because I was really nervous about the rent. It was something like 7 times more expensive.
Yeah.
To move. So we were like, oh, but we did it. And that then for the next few years grew again, but never made as much money because we were having to pay a load of new bills, employ more people, operate as a proper company almost.
Yeah.
And then as you grow, you have to do more things that cost money that don't add any value.
And also the overheads,
yeah, exactly.
They just compound, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, your wage bill, everything like that.
Yeah.
So what did you do to fill the gap? How did you get more money into the business?
Started offering more services. So we were constantly saying, we were as our jobs were growing, we had our choice of, do we buy the equipment that we need to deliver this jobs, or do we just make our money and make a margin and hire it in? And we always decided we would just own it. And that was kind of pretty fundamental in our journey, because we just said at that point, we don't want to rely on other people for equipment.
Yeah.
Let's just buy it ourselves, which is why we had no money for ages, because we were constantly investing in kit. And over the years, we've probably spent £2 million on equipment.
Yeah.
And less so recently, because we've now got a core stock. But we were starting from nothing.
Yeah.
We had no stage, no video switches, no anything really.
And by this stage, how were you managing your cash flow? Did you have someone who looked after your finance for you?
No, I'd literally write it on the back of an envelope. People joked about back of envelope numbers, but I would literally go, okay, I think there's like 5,000 in the bank. I've got wages to pay, but we've got this job coming on. I think we're right for another few months. And if we had over 10,000 in the bank, we'd spend it on kit. And that's just how we operated. It was fine. We knew we had enough work coming in, so it was fine.
Yeah.
There was a few months where me and my wife, Claire, who works here now, just didn't get paid.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But
it happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. But we knew ultimately that was a short-term thing. So.
And obviously looking at where you are now, if you were advising your younger self, would have you put someone in finance earlier?
I don't know. It's another cost. It's another cost. It's another 20, 30, 40 grand a year, depending on the size of your business to do it.
Yeah.
So I had a good enough grasp on what was going on that I didn't feel like I needed it. But as we did grow, one of the first people we did get in was a finance person. But even that, like, she came in for an interview. She worked with Michael before at another job as a credit controller. And I didn't know what questions to ask her. I was like, I literally, in her interview, I was like, what's 9 + 4? And I literally had no questions.
Yeah.
Like, can you do accounts? Yes. Cool. Like,
can you start on Monday?
Got the job, yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back, I was pretty like useless. All our accounts were done on Excel. And we would buy let's say we spent £100 on a speaker. I would write speaker, £100. And then I would type in the VAT of £17.50, because I didn't know about sums.
Yeah.
And then I'd write in the total. Like, just looking back, not ideal.
I think it's like you said, you wouldn't advise yourself to do anything differently. And I love that, because I find like we've got, a finance team in-house now, and they give you all the reports.
Yep.
They make me worried about stuff that I never used to be worried about.
Yeah.
You're suddenly going, have we got enough money actually? I don't know if we have. Whereas before I'd have just bought it.
Yeah.
And before I'd have just done it. And then you suddenly go, oh God, I've got to justify this if this goes wrong now, because people have warned me in advance. Whereas before I didn't have the knowledge, just saw the bank account and you're like, seems all right. we've got money in there.
Yeah.
Let's buy it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how my brain used to work.
And that's probably why you're able to, like you said, keep investing. Whereas if you were getting that advice, you'd probably be like, oh, actually, should we do this? And that might have restricted growth in the future.
And even now, like, we'll have conversations where we've got a 4-person board and a non-exec director. And I'll be like, oh, right, I think we should do this. And I'll still get voices saying, should we be doing this? And then normally it's good to have that counter argument, but the entrepreneur bit of me still wants to do it.
Yeah. This podcast is sponsored by Team Building Experiences. If you're planning a team building event, away day, or corporate event, then check out team-building-experiences.co.uk and state podcast 15 in the comments to receive 15% off your proposal. I was just thinking about the big recession in 2008 here. How did that affect Premier at the time? Did it affect them?
Oh, if anything, in a positive way.
Okay.
Because what we found was we were a small up-and-coming AV production company in that time.
Yeah.
And we had, well, I say small production company was small. We had some speakers, 2 tellies, and a couple of microphones. But what we found is the bigger clients had no money. So they were not using the big production companies, and they were coming to us as a smaller agency, a smaller production company.
With less overheads.
We could be more cost effective. And we won quite a few new clients in that time.
Right, okay.
So it didn't really affect us.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, because I know that a lot of business owners these days, you know, the last big recession was effectively 2008, 2009. And I've always got that anxiety about when's the next one going to come. Yeah, that at some point it's got to happen. There is obviously been minor ones since then, but it's been kind of a fairly steady trajectory over the last kind of 12, 13 years.
Yeah, although the last 12 months have been more difficult than other months.
True, yeah.
We've noticed some of our clients have got less money to spend this year compared to other years because of the cost of living crisis.
Yeah. And I think that's feeling the pinch, isn't it? More and more with the mortgages going up and everything like that side of things. So we may be on the trajectory to feeling a little bit of pain over the next 12 to 18 months anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting when I look back and see when we've been through troubled times, how businesses have adapted.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about, obviously, I know we're shooting forward a little bit further, but at what position was Premier Events as we were going into COVID in 2019, early 2020? You were obviously in this building, but what size?
Yeah, so a good way to think of this is in 2017, 2018, we were mainly probably 80% weddings and private parties.
Okay.
Hardly any corporate stuff.
Yeah.
2019, we kind of decided we don't want to do weddings anymore.
Okay.
And no one wanted to work at weekends, basically.
Yeah.
And so we said we're going to concentrate solely on corporate stuff. So we went into 2019 with a team of, 35. Wedding year, when we sacked off all the weddings, we ended up making 2 or 3 people redundant, maybe 4 or 5 actually, because we just didn't need them because we weren't doing that work anymore. We'd sold all our dance floors, for example, all of our chairs. So the girl that was full-time cleaning dance floors was made redundant, unfortunately, because we just didn't have another role that she could do. So we went into it as a team of maybe like 32, 33 into COVID. Obviously, COVID happened. We had about 2-week period where all our clients phoned and said, we're not doing any more events.
Right.
So we were on track for 2020 to be our biggest year. We'd done £1 million in Q1 and we were like, we're on it. We're going to be really, really good this year. And then obviously everyone phoned and said, look, sorry. The advice we were getting was like, we knew we had some cash in the bank. Mm-hmm. And it was really let's manage that cash as best we could. So cut all costs. So 4 days before the furlough scheme was announced, we sat everyone down and said, look, guys, there's literally nothing to do. We've done a week or 10 days of tidying up, painting some speaker cabinets, but there was no sign of anything coming. So we sat everyone down and said, look, we're going to temporarily lay you all off, which is a really traumatic thing to do for us and for them. Our HR guy was saying that we have an external HR company, and he was saying he was about to have what we were doing, he was about to do it with all of his clients because they all had no work on. And then on the 4 days later, Rishi comes along and goes furlough. It's like, yes, get in, like amazing for everybody. But I look like a complete tool for having sat them all down and said, look, we're going to make you laid off.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Or at the time you only had the information you had.
Yeah. No, that's it. There was no rumours that furlough scheme was. No precedence for that.
There was it just literally looked like the end of the world.
Yeah.
There was no support coming, and it was basically like, oh yeah, by the way, your industry is shut down by the government.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to you when we can.
Yeah. And we basically said to the guys, we've got £1 million in the bank. We've got two options. We either take that £1 million, me and Claire will just close the business and take the £1 million away. And we go, well,
yeah,
not ideal. But we kind of took the opinion of, we've worked so hard to get to this point. We're not going to be beaten by this. Everyone went on furlough, and we just eked out that the plan was to spend that £1 million as slowly as possible. So we still had some money left, and we were still around by the time that COVID went away. That was the plan.
So obviously I'm assuming everybody went on furlough.
Everyone went on furlough apart from myself and John and Francesca, so who are now the directors.
Right.
Francesca is our creative director.
Yeah.
John's our technical director. I'm me. And Claire, we put on furlough. She's our event director, but also my wife, who was 6 months pregnant.
Yeah.
In that March period.
Yeah. And the last thing is
like you just stay at home.
Yeah, yeah.
So we came in every day. We had another unit across the yard, a small storage unit. So the landlord said, if you empty it out, we'll take it off you.
Right.
So we emptied that out. We just finished the process of selling all our dance floors and chairs, thankfully. So they'd just gone, which helped because we had a bit more cash and a bit more space. And then within like 3 weeks or so, we started building a studio.
Okay.
We thought, right, we're gonna do a virtual event studio. So in this space here that is now a studios, we made another studio when it was still a warehouse.
So what made you make that decision? Were you being asked for it? Was there a demand?
Nope, no demand at all.
Nothing.
But some people had talked about Zooms and some people had talked about virtual events, and we thought, well, if all the venues are closed, why don't we make our own venue?
Yeah.
Like we had the kit to do it. John figured out how to do streaming.
Yeah.
Because we'd done it a couple of times before in some smaller jobs. So we knew it was possible, and we had the tech people to know how to do it. So we just built a studio. But the drama was we needed some cameras, and finding cameras in that time was also really difficult because no lead time. Like
everything stopped, didn't it?
Yeah, everyone wanted cameras, and there weren't enough cameras. So we ended up, thankfully, finding a set of 4 cameras we could buy. And then, we had a studio.
So who was your first client?
We did an internal meeting, which was to tell everyone what was going on. And then first one would have been Nathan Dorr, the DJ, and KSI came randomly. We know Nathan's, I think it's his tour manager or something to do with Nathan Dorr.
Yeah, yeah.
He used to work here years ago, a guy called Phil, top guy. And he said, look, can you help us with this thing we want to do, this virtual live stream thing? Right, well, yeah, we built a studio, so yeah, why not? So they came and did this like live stream on YouTube. And we had a few other DJs kind of came and used the space. And I tried a few different ways of getting money in. I tried to set it up as a kids kind of gaming club, because the studio was a 10-meter wide video wall.
Yeah.
And in my head, I thought this is a really nice thing for kids to do in the summer. They can come and bring their own console and their games and play in a COVID-safe environment.
Yeah.
2 meters apart, they can all come and play computer games. So we did a load of work on that, did a promo video, set up a website for it. And then Leicester got put into like a tier 2 lockdown. So basically all the things we wanted to do, Leicester couldn't do.
But everyone else was allowed to. Yeah, tier 1 was different to tier 2.
Yeah, so Leicester was not in a good place. So that got no bookings for that. So that was ended out to be a waste of time.
Yeah.
But by the October, November, we were starting to do some really big big virtuals. So some of our clients came back and said, look, can you help us with a virtual? So yes.
And these were internal meetings? Were they,
Yeah,
were they
internal
entertainment?
jobs that we would have normally done in person, they wanted to do
Okay.
virtually.
Yep.
So we were doing that, and we did a really cool thing. I don't know if I can talk about it. We had like the head of NATO dialing in for a virtual event that we managed. There was properly head of the Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Bank.
Yeah.
She dialed in for a virtual that we were doing. We did some really cool high profile stuff.
Yeah.
We probably can't talk about most of it, but it was cool.
Yeah.
A really, really nice, interesting job.
I suppose you were ahead of the game. You were already, you already had the setup before, like you said, there was an existence for it.
Yeah, exactly. And so we built a studio in this room, which was kind of version 1. Mm-hmm. Then we went, okay, well, COVID isn't going anywhere soon, so let's build an even better, bigger studio. So we took half a warehouse up next door and built a really big studio in there. All off the back of one of our clients needed to bring. They said, you should have a virtual event. You can do it for us in your studio, but we've got a 4-meter rocket we want to bring with us.
Rockets?
Yeah, like a rocket prop.
Oh,
so it didn't fit in this studio. So we said, okay, fine. Well, we'll build another studio that the rocket can fit in. So we built another studio, which was next door. And that was a really cool space. And we did some really nice jobs in there. And that kind of stayed as it was for a while. And then we built these virtual event studios behind us in here.
Yeah. Like
mission control style, all of the PCs ready to go do virtual streaming.
Well, I've been in there this morning, and yeah, they're phenomenal. They look like NASA headquarters.
Yeah, it is a really cool setup.
You could go in there and plan, a war. All sorts of stuff could go on in there. So this has all come out of one idea, and I wanted to go back to just that idea. Like, what gave you the confidence to just go, let's spend money on something that I don't know is going to bring any money in?
Because I didn't want to. I thought it'd be really sad if we'd spent that £1 million just paying a bit of rent and a bit of some bills and didn't really try.
Yeah.
I wanted to make it work. Because my goal was to get the people back as soon as possible. I knew the longer they were on furlough, the more chance they were going to go off and not want to work in the events industry and go and work somewhere else.
Yeah.
I wanted the people back. So the goal was to try and get the more bookings we could get, the more people we could get off furlough, and the more we can crack on, really.
Yeah. So this part of the business is now completely, obviously, changed from pre-COVID times.
Yes.
As we started coming out of COVID, obviously this space is still here today.
Yep.
How did the business grow once, say, COVID started to obviously disappear?
So one thing to talk about, I guess, is how we became an agency almost. So we went into COVID, we did production, and we did event management. But in COVID, there was no event management, really, because we're not managing any venues or caterers, or that kind of stuff wasn't really happening.
Yeah.
But what we were being asked to do is help with the content for these virtual events. How do we make them look really cool? So we ended up employing people who could do a bit of graphic design, a bit of video editing, who could make nice lower thirds and an animated stinger, for example. So we ended up coming out of COVID with production, event management, delegate management, and content and creative. And we had the studios.
Yeah.
So we kind of went in doing 2 things and came out doing 5.
Right. Okay. And that's obviously the revenue streams then, as the world opens up, your old revenue streams open.
Yeah.
Did you then end up taking extra people on, or did you manage to keep all of the staff that you originally went in with furlough?
They all came back.
Yeah.
A handful didn't come back. They went and got different careers doing other things, which was fine. I get why people didn't want to work in the events industry. A few people left to go do other things, and then after a year came back.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think they wanted to kind of just make sure that the events industry was not going to be fit again.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So they went off. One guy went to work for Next. One was became a police officer. And after 12, 18 months, they went, no, I'm going to come back to Premier.
Yeah.
So that was quite nice. And they're both still here now, actually.
Yeah. So did you have to take additional people on, or
the
majority of people came back, but then you were able to actually increase your headcount?
Yeah, so that content team going into COVID was 0. Coming out of COVID was 2. And there's now a team of maybe 8 people full-time making content.
Wow.
So we've got graphic designers, video editors, content managers, show callers, producers.
So this content team,
Mm.
let's just focus on what are they doing week in, week out? Is it content for this business or is it content for other businesses?
Content for other businesses.
For other businesses.
Think of it as you've got a client, they want to have a conference for, let's say, 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
They know roughly what the message is. So they will write their bullet points on a PowerPoint that they want to talk about. Our team will take those terrible slides and make them look good.
Yeah.
And work with them on the messaging.
Okay.
And also create like a sizzle reel that we'll play at the start of the conference that says, I don't know, we've sold this much of this and we've grown by this much. And we'll help with that look and feel of the conference.
Yeah.
And then we'll also put together a run of show that says, right, entry is lights on this state. This is on the screen. This is what music's playing.
Yeah.
Right. Then we're going to do this. Go with the lights. Then it's this video. So we'll make a complete run of show.
And do you also do like the chair hire, the AV hire, the screens, everything all in one go?
Everything, yeah. So everything all comes out of this building.
Yeah.
Apart from furniture, we don't do. So we don't do furniture. We don't do venues. We don't do catering.
Yeah.
Because they generally get done by the caterers. We've got preferred suppliers, but I've not got a kitchen at the back with people cooking food. Not yet. No, Premier Catering isn't quite there yet. And then another thing that happened, another revenue stream out of COVID is pre-COVID, we used to outsource all of our like wooden projects to another company.
Yeah.
They hadn't kind of bounced back by the time the bounce back loan needed to be paid.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, do you want to just come and work for us? So we ended up taking on another employee and their warehouse and all of their CNC machines. And
so how does a wood company fit into an events company?
Because we were using them for set and stage. So for example, set panels.
Like bespoke.
Yeah, bespoke stuff. Like a client might say to us, can you build a prize machine? Or can you build a really nice 3D letters?
Yeah.
For example, nicely sprayed on a stand. Or some plinths or some counters or something for an exhibition stand. So we were kind of outsourcing some of that stuff anyway. And then we thought, well, actually, let's just bring that in-house.
Yeah.
And so that kind of came out off the back of COVID as well.
So could you tell us a little bit more about what that does for you now? Like I know you showed me a new building that you're going to convert for. So is it called Premier Woods?
Yeah. So basically, when we got it, it basically became our internal fabrication department.
Right.
And kind of bumbled along for a couple of years, making things for us and a couple of other clients on like a white label basis. So a couple of other agencies would say, can you make this for us, but don't tell anyone? Like, cool, yeah, fine, happy with that. At the start of the year, we kind of thought there was two of them there. We'd gone from one, we'd employed another person, there's two of them at the start of the year. And we kind of decided that two isn't really making any money. And for it to make any money, it needs to be probably a team of 5 or 6.
Right, yeah.
And scale it up properly. So I decided that I was going to make a separate website for it, away from Premier.
Yep.
And we rebranded it as Premier Woodshop, which kind of made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Built a Shopify site, so we're now selling plinths and counters, things for the AV industry like comfort monitor hides, tank trap covers, things that AV companies need. But if you haven't got a woodshop in-house, like where do you get that stuff from?
Yeah, not on Amazon.
Not on Amazon, no.
Yeah.
You can't order a 10 foot by 4 foot set panel from Amazon.
So now is the plan, is this a separate business, or is it
so all part
of Premier?
Yeah.
Is the plan to obviously continue scaling that part of the business?
Absolutely. So we're now a team of, there's 2 bench joiners in there, an apprentice, a project manager who's managing all the bits. We've got a project assistant who's doing all the online orders, and John, our technical director, is kind of overseeing it all. So the plan is that they're in 2,500 square foot at the minute in Beaumont Leeds, which is 15 minutes up the road. We've just taken on this new unit, which is walking distance from here, like a 30-second walk. That's 4,000 square foot. We're going to put a mezzanine in to make it 6,000 square foot.
Oh, wow.
So kind of almost triple the amount of space that we've got. Because we're at capacity. We're turning down work at the minute because we can't make anything else, because we've got no more benches to make anything in. So we can't fit any more people where we currently are. So we're going to have to go for it.
Love that. So let's talk about your risk appetite, because from this conversation already, I can tell that you've taken some risks.
Yeah, I had 5 credit cards. And when we were buying Dancefloors, I had 5 10 grand credit cards all maxed out because I didn't want to get.
So you bought them all before orders, or did you have orders already?
Some had orders confirmed. Some was just me. I think if I had it, it would be fine.
Yeah.
So just maxed out the credit cards.
So what kind of gives you the resolve or the confidence to do that?
Don't know, maybe I shouldn't do it.
Or is that what people tell you then?
Yeah, I think over the years, there hasn't been many things I've got wrong. I've got some bits wrong. I've got some purchases wrong. I thought we bought a wedding arch, which was an ivory arch. We already had an ivory starcloth backdrop. This is weddings, really.
Yeah.
Ivory starcloth backdrop, top table skirt, and the same could be bought out an arch. And I thought, that might work. I wasn't sure about it. Put it on the website. Someone booked it. I was like, okay, right, I better go and buy it now. So I bought it. The bride found out what her mother had bought for her and was like, nope, that is terrible. So that wedding arch kind of stayed on the shelf for 3 or 4 years, hardly ever used.
Yeah.
So some bits haven't always gone right, but I've got most of them right.
I always think that your first thought or your first gut feeling is the correct one.
Yep.
And I don't know, do you have that? You have that same kind of belief?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we were running out of money and we built this studio complex, I was like, is this the right thing to do? But I just went for it. And I get asked a lot less now, are you sure about doing this?
Yeah. Because
the team have seen me say, no, this is what we're going to do. And it's proved to be okay.
Yeah.
So earlier, I'd have got 5 years ago, I'd have got, are you sure you want to be doing this? Now it's a bit more like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've got a bit more, not respect, but they question me less now because they've seen what we've done. That
you've managed to, not just come up with the idea, but then it's also worked.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have that kind of confidence in your own, in your own belief when you say it. So they probably like, okay, well, it's worked before.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it again.
We're going to spend probably 50, 60 grand re-kitting out this woodshop next door. And that's a lot of money to spend on a refurb and potential future growth.
Yeah.
And we could not spend 60 grand and stay where we are, but it's not going to get any bigger. So if we want it to grow and we want to be big, then we've got to spend the money.
You need capacity.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your team now, because you've clearly got a very good team. We've talked about a couple of the guys as well. How have you built a team? 40 people is a lot of people to manage. Do you have a senior management team? How do you look after them all and make sure this is, a great place to work? And obviously, like you said, with events, it's a difficult industry to be in. It's lots of weekends, late nights.
Yeah, definitely lots of late nights. You don't work in events because you love money or you love having 18-hour days. No one loves that, but you do it because you love working in events. You like, I think I find anyway, I like going into an empty venue that looks a bit meh, throw a load of kit at it and go, yeah, I made that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Let's talk about a typical day for you now. So obviously the business is, you've got a team of 40 people, you've got a lot of moving parts, lots of events going on. Mm-hmm. What are you working on pretty much day to day?
Marketing and improving small little incremental improvements is basically what I work on now. So a year ago, I gave up all of my clients. So I have no direct clients emailing me anymore.
How did you do that?
I gave them to my wife. So I had one client who was kind of a legacy from COVID, who'd kind of used me as almost an account director, but I'm not great at that role. And so I passed it on to Claire, who runs our event management team. It was an event management client, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But they had more capacity, so I gave it to them, and it freed me up to really spend the last 12 months focusing on marketing and growing the business, really.
So let's talk about, so you've got your own content team now. You're focusing on marketing. I've seen you on TikTok, so I wanted to talk about TikTok in a minute. But first of all, once you move yourself out of the business and you're no longer working on clients, what is the reason for that?
I just get so much more time to fix things and improve things. So I don't know. A random example is this podcast studio has come live, if I was busy with clients, I wouldn't have had time to think about how we were going to market it. But because I've got the time now, I've been able to go, okay, right, I'm going to build an online booking system for it that's going to have all these features that I want. I can integrate the booking into the website. It's having the time to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Going through, make the Woodshop website, for example. I've done that this year. So I've built that website from scratch in Shopify.
Yourself?
Yeah, I did it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not a web trained.
Yeah.
But over the years, you kind of pick bits up and it's all templated. It's not super difficult.
Yeah.
And having a graphic team in-house to be able to say, can you make me a logo that's this size? And
True.
can you make some images that are this?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm focusing now. In terms of direct reports, I have Michael, who's our digital marketing manager. And I work with Ella really closely, who does our social media. And that's it. I speak with all the board, the other directors. But day to day, I don't get too involved in the details of jobs because it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah. So your role now is effectively to focus on future revenue.
Yep.
Or future money.
Yep.
And so the marketing side, you moved yourself into marketing. What was your strategy? So, so day one, you're like, my clients are gone. What's the plan?
I'm following the Gary Vaynerchuk playbook of let's just do social media.
Okay.
And I think it is about brand. I think he's onto something where if you build, it's all about brand. We have got no salespeople. We've never had any salespeople. We don't do any outbound sales at all. Our whole thing, which is surprises some people. But we just don't. I don't feel. I hate. If my job was to bring people up and say, "Hello, do you want to work with us?" Oh no, thank you. I'd rather be quieter. I genuinely, I don't want to do it, and we don't employ anyone who does want to do that.
Yeah,
it's not really our style. So we've got Michael, who spends his time working on SEO, blog posts, technical website updates, like making sure each page has got H1s, H2s, H3s, so we can try and get enriched snippets on Google search, for example. We're doing that kind of technical work.
So pulling people towards you rather than...
Yeah. So, and then mine and Ella's job really is to grow the brand.
Right.
So I've set up a Ben, the event guy, TikTok, Instagram account to try and give people behind the scenes of what it's like to do my job. And we've recruited Ella, who's been here a year last week, actually, just in her 1 year review, to help with the Premier social media.
Yeah.
Because we used to do bits and bobs of it, but we'd never done it properly.
It's committing, going all in, isn't it? And so let's start back to this, your personal TikTok channel.
Yes.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I wish I had more time to do it.
Yeah.
Because I get distracted with things. One of my jobs today, for example, is I need to update our email signatures because they're pretty ropey. And I'll probably spend half a day on that. But I should really be doing TikTok. What I'm debating is, do I employ someone to follow me around all day and just film what I do and document that? Because it's not the recording of content isn't actually that difficult. It's then spending the time editing it, writing the caption, uploading it to the different platforms. Even we use Metrical, which is a app that allows you to get a video or picture and post it in Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, wherever.
So why TikTok?
I quite like it. I like spending my time on there.
Yeah.
I think it's useful. There's not many people who do what I do that talk about what it's like to run a business. There's lots of people are saying, "Oh, I earn 10 grand a month following my course," kind of thing.
And then it's the sales pitch afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think personal brand, I think, is going to be a good thing. People buy from people. And if people see this is what we're doing, that's better than having an advert or being at an exhibition or paying for ads. I'd rather organically people just knew who we were and we built a brand. Because historically, people haven't known who we are.
Yeah.
And because we used to do lots of things that we don't do now, there's still locally, people will think of Premier Events and they'll think of, oh, they're the guys who do draping, or they're the disco company, or they're the dance floor company. And it's really about saying, no, we don't do that anymore. we now do this, this, and this.
So have you had any wins from TikTok? And you've been going for, do you say a year? You've been focusing on TikTok now.
Yeah, a year on and off.
Yeah.
I did a bit before, but
consistently posting.
Yeah, and we went to Plaza the other week, which is a trade show for the events industry, more AV side. And we had a stand. We did an exhibition. We never do exhibitions historically, but we thought, let's do it. This is for the Woodshop. And probably 2/3 of the people who came to that stand were like, "You're the guy from TikTok, aren't you? Can I just say hello?"
2/3?
2/3 of the people who came to the stand.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah, they already knew who I was.
Yeah.
And what we did. And they knew, for example, about like getting a new unit, or they knew what we were doing without even coming to the stand.
I mean, that says 1,000 things, doesn't it? Oh my God, like people were coming to you. Like you say, you're not doing sales outbound, but they're coming to you because of what you're investing in.
Yeah. And that kind of justified in my head that, we're on to a winner here. And it's going to take time for we're now getting work as a direct result off the back of TikTok.
Yeah.
I know, for example, a guy, I took a phone call the other day. I answer there's 3 or 4 of us answer new inquiry calls that come in. And there was a guy who phoned and said, "I've seen you guys on TikTok. I need some counters making for a job. Can you help?" So we did it. It's like a $5,000 order for some wooden counters.
Nice.
But off the back of, he'd seen this on TikTok.
I mean, that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it shows you're on the right track. Why have you done YouTube? Why TikTok over other, you've got YouTube, Instagram, you've got LinkedIn, you've got, so many options, haven't you?
Basically, I wanted to do TikTok first, prove the concept works. It is working. So now we are going to try and get YouTube Shorts. I've just set up an Instagram account. It's only got like 30 followers. So I need to grow that out.
Yeah.
But you try and do some different content on different platforms. But it's just having the time.
And that is the hardest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your marketing strategy, we talked briefly before about you've recently changed that so that you're focusing on content.
Yes.
Where has that belief come from?
I think it's just having seen what's worked. So one of our biggest clients, who, let's say, I can't say who they are, but they probably spend about £1 million a year. They came off the back of a LinkedIn video that I posted. So
that's amazing. Isn't it?
I've got a cause of, if I post this video and that work came in, if I can replicate that and just do more of it, the proof of concept's there.
So if you can get £1 million from one post, what's holding you back from employing someone to follow you around?
I think it's a bit of a ego thing of, do I want to be seen to be the guy that's got someone following me around? I'm not sure I do.
Yeah.
But I think what we are going to do is we're going to take the money. We just stopped doing all our Google ads.
Right.
I'm just not sure that's the way forward. And I think what I'm waiting for, I'm doing one of my jobs this afternoon is to do a report of new client wins this year from sources we don't know where they've come from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be quite a high number. We've got loads of new clients this year that I can't say where they've come from. And I think we're going to take some of that Google money and we're going to probably employ another social media person. And some of that social media person will be doing stuff with me. And some of it will be helping Ella do the Premiere stuff. So we're going to double down on it. So
they're kind of coming in gradually almost.
Yes.
Yeah. I get what you mean by the ego. It almost, putting an advert out there, I want someone to follow me around on a camera. Suddenly go, oh, am I that person?
And have I got enough interesting things to say? I'm not sure I have.
I'm sure you have, though.
But yeah, it's difficult because I'm in my head. It's just me doing my job.
Yeah, true.
But people do seem to generally be interested in what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's something you can try a little bit of.
Yeah.
Split test it. If it works, do it for a couple of weeks.
Exactly.
And it's not too bad and you're like, oh God, I really don't like it.
Yeah.
And then you can always tailor it off afterwards.
Yeah. So I think the plan will be, it's all about brand.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that through social media.
Love it.
Which is a bit out there, but.
Yeah. No. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you're doing something different to what, like you said, everyone else is doing, and people are coming to you because they already know you, it's that omnipresence, isn't it? Where people just know what you're doing without you having to push it towards them.
Exactly.
They're just being kind of informed gradually through social media. And that's the secret, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's talk about obviously Premier Events where you are now.
Mhm.
Do you have like a plan for, like how strategic are you? Do you go like, sit down at the beginning of the year and you're like, we want to grow this much by this year, this much by this year,
Yeah,
or do you just
we'll put a budget in place. We wanted to grow by 10% this year.
Okay.
That was a kind of a conservative. We've had like 6-7 years of growing 20-30% a year.
Yeah.
From doing not a lot to this like 7 million quid a year we'll do now.
Yeah.
So as you get bigger, it gets harder to get those massive jumps. So we set a target this year for 10%. We're going to be there or thereabouts. We've got to get a few more bits in for Q4 to try and hit that. But there or thereabouts, I'm happy with. If we can do 10% growth, that's happy. But I'm weighing up in my head now, if we wanted to grow at scale, what do we need to do? And I'm just debating in my head what those next moves are.
Okay. Because I think so the average business in the last 12 months has grown by about 4%.
Yeah.
So anything over 4%, you're doing better than the average, which is obviously a good sign.
Yes.
So
I didn't know that, by the way.
So it's just I went to a conference recently, and that was what they were talking about.
Okay.
And yeah, obviously the big then mindset shift is what you want to become next, isn't it? And how much you want to, how fast you want to get there. So have you got ideas that would, take this business to like a 15 million pound, or are you thinking more of a, 10 million pounds is your next kind of?
What's scalable and not too stressful for us is if we win 1 or 2, maybe 3 big new clients every year. Because we don't lose many clients. Our retention rate's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got a client we've worked with for 10 years doing their big event every year. So people don't go away. So if we can just keep building on 1 or 2 big new clients every year, that's how we're going to grow the business.
Yeah.
Without losing sleep. Because it's stressful building, but it's a lot easier now because we're putting all the systems and the structure in place. We've got all the departments. We've got people who run every department. We've got the fundamentals there. All we need now is to add a few more people. If we get a new client, a few more people come in, maybe a bit more kit. And it's easy to scale now because we've done the hard work.
Yeah. And you've got the infrastructure in place
exactly
to take it to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah. Which hence going back to that Woodshop thing, for example, currently they're maxed out. So we've got to put the infrastructure in place for them to grow.
Yeah.
They've gone from doing 100 grand a year when we first took them on to they'll probably do 750 this year.
That's big growth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chunky.
Yeah.
But they can't make anything else.
And you've got your existing infrastructure like your finance, your marketing, everything like that to support it.
Exactly.
So they can focus on just the product, which is a lovely position to.
Yeah, it's quite nice. We've built all those fundamentals out now. So scaling used to be really stressful because we're like, how we've got no structure in any of the teams, but we've done that now. We've got all the right people in.
Yeah.
We just need to grow it.
Yeah. So you mentioned stress. Have you ever got to the point where you thought, I'm going to throw the towel in? This is just not worth it. I know you've been going like 20 odd years.
No.
And
I enjoy it more now than I've ever have done. I genuinely like not having clients is really nice because I'm not good at that stuff anyway. So being able to focus on the bits that I like doing and am good at doing makes life really good fun.
And so you've basically been able to create the perfect job for your skill set.
Yes. And having to learn new skills as well because I haven't got a marketing degree, but I'm figuring it out as we go along and just saying, okay, that seems to work. Let's do more of that.
Well, I went to university similar time as you, and marketing was all about print.
Yep.
There wasn't the social media, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. When we first started, we were in Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
And we were lucky that Ben's Mobile Discos began with a B. So it was AA Disco, AAA Discos, and then Ben.
It'd be BBB or something like that. I've got 3 final questions for you, Ben.
Go for it.
So the first one is, what is the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
The only kind of books and stuff I ever read is the Gary Vaynerchuk stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with his.
Gary. Yeah.
Like, I've listened to his new book, The Day Trading Attention, 3 times because I think it is really powerful, and that's the playbook almost we're going with.
So, and this is a book, sorry.
It's an audio book and an actual book.
Okay. Well, we can put it in the notes because, obviously, I think people that are looking to start a business or are currently in a business, it's where they get that knowledge from.
Yeah.
Is so crucial. There's so much noise out there right now.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than ever. Who do you listen to?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got the people that are 50 steps ahead, or you've got people that are the same level as you.
Yeah.
And which one do you listen to?
No, exactly.
So you're if you were to give business advice to someone that's looking to start a business, what advice would you give to them?
It's useful. I found it really useful in the early days that every time we employed someone, I had done their job. So, for example, we'd employ someone to clean dance floors. I'd clean dance floors. Collecting chairs at 2 a.m, I'd collected chairs at 2 a.m. If you employ people and they know that you can do that role, that's super helpful for you because you get that respect straight away.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing that I've learned. It's not scalable now we're big because I can't go and be I don't know how our CNC machine works, for example. I'm not going to go and cut out any wood.
Yeah.
I'm not great on a saw. But that AV bit, when we were new, when we were starting, know what you're doing. So you know you're not getting mugged off by people as well.
Yeah.
And you can say, oh, hold on, I can do it like this because it's better.
Yeah. And you've kind of learnt the trade through doing it yourself as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good advice. Finally, what podcasts do you listen to, or do you listen to any podcasts?
I do. Not many though. News Agents.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, News Agents with John Sopel, Emily Maitlis, and Lewis Goodall, which is good for a daily catch-up of news.
Yeah. News
Agents USA for a bit of American politics. And Steph McGovern and what's his name? Robert Peston do a finance money podcast. And then Gary V's every now and again as well.
Yeah, so Gary V's got his Gary V Experience,
yes,
right?
That's the one.
Yeah, no, I've listened to a couple of those. He's a great guy, very, very ahead of the game.
Yes, the drama with his podcast is, and it's an AV insult almost, that he goes and speaks at all these places and they record the audio, but the venue sound technicians are normally terrible, and so sometimes the audio is a bit ropey.
Yeah,
and it does. As an AV person, I'm like, oh, come, just sort your mics out.
I think he has the philosophy: just release the content, isn't he? And
exactly.
Most people will listen.
Yeah, but it offends my ears sometimes.
Ben, it's been lovely speaking with you. Really, really absolute fantastic story. You've done amazingly well. Where can people find more about Premier Events and yourself?
All over TikTok. If you're a business person, you want proper content, like official content, LinkedIn. But if you want to see us just being idiots and ourselves, TikTok's the place to be. Lovely. And we'll put all the information and the links in the show notes as well. Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Lovely. No, it's been great having you on, Ben. Really enjoyed it. Awesome. Well. So that was another episode of We Built This Business. We'll be back next week. If you like the show, please like and subscribe. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you.